Hey, my name is Jacob, and here's my lesson on the passive voice. So, in order to understand the passive voice and what it is exactly, it's probably best off to take a step back and go over the active voice. Now, the active voice might not be something you've heard of before, but it's what we're used to using when we speak in English, and it's just a regular construction of a sentence. So here we've got a very simple sentence, hopefully not too confusing, using the active voice, which is Harry walked the dog. So normally in a sentence when we're speaking, we have the subject, which in this case is Harry, goes first, followed by the verb, walked, and finally with the object at the end, the dog. So subject, verb, object is our normal construction, and that makes out Harry walked the dog. So whoever's doing the action comes first, the action itself comes second, and then the object, which is having the action done to it, comes at the end. But say we want to make the dog the focus of the sentence, okay? So we don't want to focus on Harry, but we want to focus on the dog. Now, in order to achieve this, we have to swap a few things around, and this is where the passive voice comes into play. So this is the passive voice. So we use the passive voice when we want to make the object the focus of the sentence and not the subject. And so it's really simple. All we have to do is push the object to the start of the sentence. So instead of starting with Harry, we start with the object, which is dog. So we say the dog was walked. Now, as you might be able to see here, the difference is that we've added in the to be verb here, okay, which is in black. So we've got the dog, the to be verb, which has been conjugated, and then the verb walked. So now there's no need for Harry, the subject. He's not there anymore. We're just focusing on the dog was walked. And we can add Harry if we want to, and we'll come on to that in a bit. But it's not necessary. We can just leave it there. And so now all we need to know as an audience is that the dog was walked. But in order to achieve this, we need to add in the conjugated version of the verb to be, which obviously isn't here. We don't say Harry was walked the dog, or we don't say Harry walked was the dog. It's not needed. But if we're going to use a passive voice, we need to remember to conjugate to be and then add it in between the object and the verb. So we put it before the verb. Okay, so underneath we have, to keep things simple, we'll have the to be verb. We'll have it in the present and past conjugation. So at this point, go through the student how to conjugate to be in the present. So we have I am, you are, he is, we are, you are, they are. And then in the past, we'd have I was, you were, he was, we were, you were, and they were. Okay, so we can see in this situation the passive voice, the object is now the front of the sentence, so the object is he, she, it. It is an object, and it's in the past tense, so we use was. So say, for example, we're using different sentences. We're talking about I made a cake. What we would then say is, in the active voice, that would be I made a cake. We want to change it to passive voice, so we'll make the cake the focus of the sentence. It would be the cake was made by me. This leads us nicely on to what we do when we want to include the subject still. So we'll just, oh no, let's not do that, let's use this. Okay, so when we want to include the subject who did the action, so here, Harry, we need to include by. So we go from the object, which is a dog, goes to the start of the sentence. Then we have the to be verb, which is conjugated as was. Then we have the verb in green, walked. And then we have by. By stays the same. By doesn't change, it's always by. And then we have the subject. So that the subject is the person who is doing the action. So now we have the dog was walked by Harry. Okay, so this is the complete opposite of what we started off with. So initially in the active voice, we had Harry walked the dog, and now we switched it around. So we've got the dog was walked by Harry. So let's have a look through some more examples here. of going from the active to the passive. So like I said, we have here active sentence, you made a cake. So it's in the past tense again. Okay, so something's already happened, you made a cake. And then in order to change the passive, we're going to have to switch things around. So let's have a look. Here we have you is the subject, made is the verb, and a cake is the object. So let's follow this formula. That's the active voice. So you, the subject, made, the verb, an object, the cake. We want to switch into the passive voice. So what do? We go object. So we have the cake. And here we change a cake to the cake just to specify that it's a specific cake. But it could be either way. You could keep it as a cake. So the cake. And then next we have was. So was is to be conjugated. So we're talking about a cake. So that's it. And we do it in the past. So we have was. And then we have the subject, made by you. Okay, so we've got, let's draw a connection here. The cake. I think it'd be easier if we use a pencil. So we have the cake, object, was to be, made, verb, by you, the subject. So at this point I go through the student. The next sentence, Sam helped me, which is made in the active voice, written in the active voice, and see if the student can switch it around. So put the object, which is I, or me or I, depending on whether it's which part of the sentence it comes in. So it's a bit trickier, this one. So me moves to the front. We can't say me helped, so we say I was, and was is the to be verb, helped by Sam. And then next we have I painted my bedroom in the active voice. And then when we switch that around to the passive voice, it becomes my bedroom moves to the front, was painted by me. So this is a chance to have a practice on some other versions which are a bit trickier because you need to change a pronoun, me and I, because the pronoun changes depending on where it is in the sentence. That's good practice. And then finally we have this activity here where we go through a few active sentences and we try and change them into the passive. And as we go through, they get a bit trickier. So the first one, we can see Sally changed a tire. It's the first active sentence. And then in the passive, we start off with the object, which is the tire, goes to the start of the sentence, remember, as per the formula, object to be, verb by subject. So the tire goes to the front of the sentence because it's the object, and then we have 3 gaps. So we need to conjugate to be. So Sally changed a tire. The tire is an object in the past, so the tire was. And then we have the verb, which is changed. And then we have by, because we're showing it's done by Sally. And then we have Sally, the subject, is now at the end. So that becomes the tire was changed by Sally. And then we can go through these other examples. So this one, we just know that they climbed the mountain. We know the mountain goes in front because the mountain is the object in the normal sentence. So it's the mountain, and then we have a gap of, we can see 1, 2, 3, 4 words. And again, follow the same formula. We go through and conjugate. Mountain was climbed by them, and then I fixed the car. The car was fixed by me. Tom painted the house. Now we just know it's 6 gaps. The student will have to go. The house was painted by Tom, and finally we have the sentence, and the student has to complete it all by themselves and give them help along the way. But the idea is the harder it gets, the more they can work for themselves and understand what they need to do. Thanks a lot.